Hi, kids. Welcome back to Miss Nancy's Bible College for Kids. We've been doing this series of the scary stories. Today, it's not a scary story, and we will have questions and answers, but it's about foolish or fool or foolishness. Miss Nancy's never done this. It's a simple story, and most everyone knows it, about the two men that build a house. But it's so important that Jesus puts a story in there. I'm going to tell it from two different men and what they saw and how they saw it. And then Jesus is going to go on to talk about another fool in the Bible. Then I'm just going to go ahead and mention a few things about a fool. Jesus don't want you to be a fool. I sure don't want you to be a fool. And I know that you know by asking Jesus to save you, you won't be no fool. You know the gospel that Jesus Christ died on the cross, was buried, and arose again the third day, all according to the Bible, according to the scriptures. And that if you ask him to save you, he promises he will, and God cannot tell a lie. So let's go on. These stories are all in the New Testament, and the first one is in Matthew chapter 7. And this is Jesus himself talking. Therefore, whosoever heareth these saying of mine, and doeth them, I will liken him unto a wise man, which built his house upon a rock. And the rain descended, and the floods came, and the winds blew, and beat upon that house, and it fell not, for it was founded upon a rock. Jesus is our rock. He is our foundation. So if we're built on him, we are a wise person. And going back to the very beginning, it says, whoever hears and does. So you can't just be a hearer, you have to be a doer. But anyway, everyone that heareth these sayings of mine and doeth them not shall be likened unto a foolish man, which built his house upon the sand. And the rain descended, and the floods came, and the winds blew and beat upon that house, and it fell, and great was the fall of it. So let's go on to the second story. This is the same story. That was Matthew. This is Luke in chapter 6. Whosoever, Jesus talking again, cometh to me and hearing my sayings, and doeth them, I will show you to whom he is like. He is like a man which built a house, and this goes into more details. He built a house, and he digged deep and laid the foundation on a rock. And when the flood arose, the stream beat vehemently, that means so fierce, upon that house, and could not shake it, for it was founded upon a rock. Now I want to stop right there for a minute and say, kids, if you got Jesus for your foundation, you're not going to be shaken either. I hope you and your parents and everybody you know is on that foundation, standing on the rock, which is Jesus Christ. But here's the other side to this. But he that heareth and doeth not is like a man that without a foundation. And kids, if other children or somebody you know and love don't have Jesus living in them, they don't have no foundation. And the truth is, if they don't get that foundation, they're not going to get to go to heaven with the rest of us. So you need to tell them about Jesus. But he that heareth and doeth not is like a man that without a foundation built a house upon the earth, against which a stream did beat vehemently, and immediately it fell, and the ruin of that house was great too. So you got to have a foundation. Jesus is the rock that we all stand on. And with him in us, there is no way we can fail. The next story is in the book of Luke also. But this is Jesus talking. It's not about a foundation. It's about a foolish person. And Jesus spake a parable unto them, saying, the ground of a certain rich man brought forth plentifully. And he thought within himself, saying, what shall I do? Because I have no room to bestow my fruits. And he said, this will I do. I will pull down my barns and build greater, and and there will I bestow all my fruits and my goods. Boy, he come up with a plan. And I will say to my soul, Soul, thou hast much goods laid up for many years. Take thine ease, eat, drink, and be merry. But God said unto him, Thou fool. Now just think about that, God talking. Thou fool, tonight thy soul shall be required of thee. Then who shall all those things be which thou hast provided? So is he that layeth up treasure for himself and is not rich toward God. So he's saying, if you keep all your money down here, that'll be all right. But if you're going to keep it, then you're not spending it. It should make you happy. You should find ways to use it to serve the Lord. And there's something called a tithe. If you kids can earn money, you could give 1/10 of everything that you do to church, to a child that don't have ice cream money or something like that. God just wants 1/10 of what he gives us to start with. And you might could do some chores and earn some money and give it back to him. And I promise you, I tell my kids in my class, if you pray, if you tell others about Jesus, if you go to church, if you just talk about Jesus or pass out tracts, which is little booklets, I hope you kids know what they are. It's a very powerful tool to use, but you're laid up treasure in heaven, and there will be some things there for you when you get to heaven. It's just a wonderful deal. So if you want to, if you can make $1, give a dime. If you can make $5, give 50 cents. See, that's the way that goes. But you can give more, but he wants you to. And I would love to know that I have talked someone into starting to give money back to Jesus, to the Lord and to God at a very early age. Let's get on with the questions and answers. What two men in the Bible are we told about these stories by? Matthew and Luke. It must be pretty important if Jesus and God puts it in the Bible that he tells it from two different people in two different places. Anyway, what was the story? We get it twice. He likens two men. The first one, he says, I'll tell you what, if you hear what I say and do it, what do you like? A wise man, and he built what? His house. Where did he build it? He built it on a rock, didn't he? And when the rains come down really hard and the winds blew and the streams came, what happened to that house? It stood firm, didn't it? It didn't go down. Why? Because it was built on a great foundation. It was built on a rock. And I want to think about some things that Luke told us that Matthew didn't mention. Can you remember anything specific? That's when he said he dug down deep, didn't he? And guys, I want you to dig down deep in yourself. Do you know Jesus? Are you a born-again Christian? Born again means the first time you were just born to your parents, you can't remember it. But this time, if you know you're a sinner, then you just ask him and he says, yes, I will save you. That's called getting saved or being born again. Okay, but the second person in both of those stories, what was he likened unto? A foolish man. Why? What did he build his house on? On the earth or on the sand? What did it not have? It did not have any foundation. You can't do that. The sands, the rain, everything like that, the floods would just wipe a house out if you did that. But anyway, then we go on, and there's a person, and what's he wondering about? He's got a lot of fruits and stuff, doesn't he? He must have had a real good garden or two. But anyway, what's his thing that he's wondering about or pondering on? He said, what am I going to do? I've got so much. I don't know what to do. And then he thought to himself, what did he think? I'll tell you what I'm going to do. I'll tear down them little barns. That's a wonderful idea. And I'll build bigger ones. And he was going to, but somebody spoke up. Who was that person in this story that spoke up? God. What did he say? He called this man a name. What was it? Thou fool. Then what did God tell him? He said, your soul's going to be required of you tonight. That means he's going to die, babies. And then what question did he ask him? He said, then what are you going to do with all this stuff? What did he tell himself? And people down here, they invest. I've invested. I've had long-term things. They'll invest for the future. But there's nothing wrong with that. But you've got to invest for your future up in heaven. But he said, laying up treasure down here, that shows your heart's down here. What you ought to do is what? Lay up treasures in heaven. And guys, he'll be waiting on you when you get there. But I just want to tell you a few more little things about a fool. God don't like fools, and then we, people that we are, we have a day set aside in the year, and it's called April Fools. Well, Miss Nancy was born in April, go figure. But really, it's not funny. I remember my pastor preached a message one time about what's so funny. God's going to have the ones in heaven laughing someday, but it's not going to be funny at all. That's when the people that don't get to go to heaven still going to be here. But anyway, here's a few things about fools. Fools despise wisdom. I can tell people things about the Bible. Most of them like it. Some of them take it, but some of them thinks I'm a fool. Well, a preacher come by the other night and he was asking, whose fool are you? And babies, I need to know, whose fool are you? If Miss Nancy's going to act foolish, if I'm going to do things that people make fun of, I want to do it for the Lord, don't you? I hope you do. Shame is the promotion of fools. Oh, if they do something and everybody laughs, they just think it's funny. So funny. But the way of a fool is right in his own eyes. They don't even know they're foolish. A companion of fools will be destroyed. Fools make a mock at sin. Oh yeah, you believe in Jesus? Uh-huh. I guess you believe in all the other stuff the Bible talks about too. People say things like that. They're talking foolish. Most of them wouldn't say it if they knew how scary it was to talk bad about the Bible. But then it says, the mouth of a fool poureth out foolishness. And here is another thing. A fool is slow of heart. He just don't get it. A fool walketh in darkness. Now that's a scary thing. Ye fool and blind. Jesus says they're blind when they're playing the fool. And then it says their foolish hearts are darkened. And then another quote says, a fool has said in his heart, there is no God. So babies, I trust that you and everybody you know ain't going to end up being no fool. Because I want all of us together in heaven. I sure am glad you tuned in this way. I'll see you next week, okay? Bye-bye.